Hello, we are coming at you live from National SHRM in Chicago. I want to introduce you to our podcast host for the week, Andrew Schrader, Vice President of Marketing and Member Engagement. Throughout the next couple of days, he's going to be interviewing HR leaders from across the world, bringing you HR trends, challenges, and what's on their mind. Welcome, Andrew. Thanks for interviewing our HR leaders.
Happy to be here, and it's going to be a great show. It already has been. We've been here a day or so, and our goal of the podcast is really to identify, as you mentioned, those trends that are really impacting HR professionals today and HR departments today and businesses today. So HR impacts all aspects of the business. Our goal is to help gather some of that data from a wide sampling of individuals this week, so we can help serve our members and tailor our products and services to them better in 2024 and beyond. So really excited about it.
Thanks for being here, and I can't wait to see what all of you have to say this week.
If there's a funny or crazy or interesting anecdote that you'd be willing to share in your HR career, we'd love for you to share that, and we'll start there.
I recall a time early in my career where we were dealing with an employee relation issue, and the employee just wasn't performing how they were in the past. So we sat down and had a conversation with them, and they said it was because of the current president that they couldn't come to perform their job. And I always just thought that was funny, but also real on how real life world's going to affect people.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, feels like there might have been a few layers of direct reporting there that maybe might not have been all the president's fault. So that's funny. So,
okay, if you're going for an inappropriate one, from my first job as an internship, our HR manager had a interview with somebody on Zoom, but this was before the etiquette was really a thing. Sure. And she asked, "Well, can you turn your camera on?" And he said, "Wait, hold on. I have to go put some clothes on."
Wow. And did they get the job?
I don't think so.
Okay, got it.
No.
That makes sense.
I think the weirdest one I had was a young lady who was meowing.
Interesting.
It was really interesting. And she didn't realize she was doing it. And it was very off-putting to people. And so we had to have a conversation with her about, meowing at work isn't always going to win you friends and influence people.
My most interesting HR story was through the interview process, and it was a young woman who joined us for a customer service interview, and she was so nervous, such a sweetheart, but so nervous, was shaking her legs away, kind of kicking with her knees crossed, and her shoe flew across the room. She continued without missing a beat, just continued through the entire interview. Post-interview, we're about to walk around. She said, "Excuse me one moment, I just need to collect something." Collected her shoe. Wonderful person. She ended up getting the job. Seamless in customer service.
Yeah.
So
that's a great one.
So at a previous job, all of our offices were glass, and we had a candidate come in for an interview who was very, very nervous. He did a great job, but he still left nervous. Yeah. And as he left, he got up and he walked right into the plate glass window, and he didn't get hurt, but it took everything inside of me not to burst out laughing at him.
Did he get the job?
He did get the job, and we did laugh about it later, and he was a good sport about it.
Happy ending for everyone involved. Yeah. Thanks so much for spending some time with MRA today.
Early in my career, I had to write a PIP, performance improvement plan for one of our team members. And this team member truly was this rock star. Yeah. And for some reason, things were just kind of going downhill, and it was just very not like this person. Okay. And so it was hard to talk to this person about, kind of what I thought were silly things, because this individual has been in the military. They have a stellar work record. Sure. And we're doing this PIP on this person for not showing up on time, just some of those soft skills that we know this person has. Yeah. This person has an incredible skill set.
It's kind of what's going on.
Right. Yeah. And so their manager, I don't know what the conversations truly were, but we needed to go to that next step. And, just looking at this individual, there had to be something more. Yeah. And so, before even going into the PIP, I just said, hey, this is not you. This is not the person that I met at this conference and just excelled. This is, I mean, you don't have to give me details, but, just there's something going on. After a little bit of back and forth, and I found out that his wife was diagnosed with cancer, and it was already stage 4. And so nobody knew this. And so it was just, I couldn't imagine all of the emotions that he was feeling. Yep. And he's the breadwinner. So, you have to get up and go to work. So long story short, we were able to not do a PIP, work with him with his schedule and, the appointments that he had to, go to with his wife. And we ended up getting our employee through a really tough situation. Yeah. But also that employee is still with that company because he felt like I was seen, I was heard, just really supported. And I still have a great relationship with this person now. So
well, what a great story. And it's just a really great reminder. We don't know what's going on with our employees outside of work, right? I mean, and so I think just that kind of leaderful way of asking before we start judging or managing is a really good piece of advice.
Absolutely.
My favorite HR story is when the employees are hired and they absolutely come to HR not out of fear, but just to thank us. Okay. Because most of the time people think HR is the principal's office. So to just know that you've inspired somebody and let them know that you're here to support them, that's a favorite of mine. And we do have people that stop by just to say thank you.
I think one of the things that is rewarding in the field of HR is really just stepping back during any opportunity you have. And when you watch your employees interact with each other, and when you watch that genuine care for each other in the room, you've helped, you don't own it, but you've helped create a culture of belonging.
Helping people. Extending a tentative job offer or a final job offer to individuals and letting them know, hey, you got the job, and how excited some people were about it was a highlight. I do remember there was one individual that I was really good friends with and called them on one of their hardest days and invited them to, just told them, hey, you got the job. And they moved from Philly to DC. That's huge. And so that was the change for them in their life to, just be, and they were actually working in HR too. Awesome. So that was the highlight of my career. One of the highlights in my career.
What would you call your greatest challenge in 2024 and from an HR perspective?
Quality review. Okay. And also maybe data. So having the data to support, or to reflect our quality review and what we have going on, where the areas, not necessarily areas, but areas of improvement, but also our strong suits as well.
We're here with Dia from Chicago, Illinois, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here today. What are you seeing out there as kind of the biggest business challenges in 2024 for an HR department?
I would definitely say it's strategy. Okay. It's really having a strategy, not just focusing on one HR priority or people, but it's really having a strategy. And I know that there's some organizations that are saying I'm too small or I'm brand new and I don't need HR or I can figure it out by just going online and typing in a question. But I find that having a strategy is really what organizations need, and just having a plan so you're already prepared.
For sure. I'm in Washington State, and for Washington State, it's pay equity. It's we're all dealing with Fair Labor Standard Act changes. Washington State, even more so, their state minimum wage is going up tremendously in the next 5 years. So we're really, really trying to figure out how to balance the talent and those highly compensated people with others for the company.
Well said. Yeah, we're dealing with that in Wisconsin a little bit too. Not to the same level with some of the tech tech companies you guys have out there, and the equity thing is real. So appreciate that.
We are a huge global company that a lot of people haven't heard of. So it's difficult, especially because we're moving more into technology. And so getting that talent to kind of consider where we are, because we are very still conservative, where we like people on site most of the time. So we have remote, but it just depends on the position. We like to have people in office.
Totally understandable, as do we. Do you have anything to add?
No, I was just going to say, I think it's recruitment and retention.
Okay.
I think we have big focus on retention right now, just because it's so competitive out there, and we're a global organization, and so we see from like our technicians up through our office personnel, like people are trying to get to our people actively, and so it's how can we retain all of these people that we're spending time to train, and we're investing in them, and we want them to grow their career with us, and so we've been doing a lot over the past year on like focusing on them.
No, totally great. Totally great, top of mind. Is the retention issue mostly on the manufacturing side, or is it mostly a professional?
It's both.
It's both.
Oh,
It's
okay.
truly both.
Yeah, I think it depends on the positions and the office side of things and the business, but in manufacturing, it's just kind of all over our manufacturing.
It really is, because they're highly skilled workers and they're hard to find.
Yeah.
It's hard to find people who want to do manufacturing jobs. When we get them, we need to keep them.
Yeah, totally understand, and I think a lot of our members are feeling exactly the same way. So thanks for sharing that, guys.
I would say the greatest HR challenge that we're having at this time is understanding how to incorporate AI into our business practices and ensuring that we protect the value of humans and still implement the efficiencies that can be found within AI within our business.
Super top of mind. Where are you on that journey so far?
We're doing pretty well. I'd say we're probably at the entry level of that process, but aware. I think awareness is the key to really making it work, and then understanding what the opportunities are out there.
Well said. And we're dealing with that internally, even at MRA, and trying to figure out just what the safeguards are, I think, to some degree, right, from an awareness perspective. And then how can we make our employees' lives easier while still valuing them at the same time? So
the biggest challenge I'm seeing, more so not in my business, but across our general community, is the shift from wellness to self-care.
Okay.
Really, I think we're going to see a transformation in that language, and that's really around the focus on mental health, which is a really big topic around a lot of the HR folks' tables these days.
Yeah.
I work at a mental health center, so it's been a front and center topic for me for a long time, but it's something that's kind of new and evolving for others that aren't as used to dealing with that yet.
And you're talking about in terms of employees, correct? So what are a couple of thoughts or ideas that you're working with in that regard right now?
So because we're a mental health center, we have people employed who do mental health services for other people.
Okay.
So it's about getting them to really change and focus on themselves, and making sure that they take their accrued time off and make sure they use their wellness benefits, and that they really take time to focus on themselves, whatever that might look like for them. Because self-care is not just going to the gym.
Yeah.
It could be a lot of different things. So that's something that we've been working on.
Super forward thinking. Thanks for sharing that with us today.
So right now, I would say our biggest challenge would have to do with the bringing in of the Gen Z, especially with COVID taking out the last 4 or 5 years of good education for those kids. We're finding that they're really lacking in life skills, with their ability to communicate and to follow direction. So our big push right now is to really try to re-educate these kids where the school system failed because of an international pandemic, and kind of bring them up to speed in those areas and see how it reflects on other parts of the business and if it can improve productivity.
Awesome. So when you're talking about some of those skill gaps, is it as simple as kind of project management, or is it just like simple things like follow-up, or what are we talking about here?
I mean, honestly, it's the basics. It's communication. It's responsibility. It's things that when you're taken out of a group setting that you don't realize you're absorbing, skills that were missed during, 2020 to basically 2022 when the kids were doing most online schooling. There was a lot of records that show that people just didn't show up. And we're really seeing the effects of that now.
I would probably say compliance. I think after the pandemic, a lot of people are butting heads with HR more often. So for my department personally, we just try to create a very positive experience for everyone.
I think we are having a hard time with kind of the new generation and the way that they kind of approach the working life, which is, I'm not that much older than them, but it's very different from what we kind of grew up learning that we were supposed to do versus, what they're all doing now. So things like, they're being taught in school to leave jobs after a couple of years to get pay increases and things like that, whereas we're looking to really foster great employees and have them grow with us. So that's something that we're really struggling with.
Gotcha. So retention, essentially, employee engagement around making sure that those you see potential in are part of your team long term.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And I think we're all struggling with that. So you're not alone.
Yeah, so I would have to say that the challenge that we've been facing so far, especially in Colorado, is they came out with a new law where it is the family law where it offers essentially short-term disability, but it's paid by the state of Colorado. Okay. So then they're offering at least around 90% of the person's salary. So we're kind of working to decide whether or not that we are going to continue offering as a company our short-term disability, or if Colorado is going to be able to cover the employees in the way that we need. So it's been a challenge because it just started and no one really knows how it's working. And then as far as like the funding goes from the state as well. So I feel like it's interesting, but it's also a sticky situation.
It's really a compliance employment law kind of question that maybe isn't even really litigated yet, or the law isn't really clear on yet.
I would say just because our division is going through a lot of change is really change management. Okay. And not just from a structural, project management type lens, but also the emotional piece, that helping, employees, helping them to pivot successfully. Okay. I think that is I think that's where a lot of times companies lose people because everybody's got to pivot, based on what the workforce, what the market is asking for. For sure. And if it's not done correctly, people are going to leave. They don't trust. Yeah. And so they get scared and then they leave and you lose good talent. Yeah. So I would say right now, just because we have a lot of change that
change management.
Yeah. From an HR perspective, I would say currently the focus that we have right now, or my focus, I should say, is a lot around our commercial organization and really driving the right behaviors, having the right comp plans in place to enable our commercial team to really go out and sell, be effective, and just grow the organization. I think that's kind of our main focus because it is our biggest challenge at the moment.
For me and my organization, it would be compliance, making sure that we're staying compliant with balancing a union and non-union environment.
Okay. Any specific area from a legal perspective, or all of it, or?
How about all of it?
Yeah. I hear you. There's a lot of change, especially the last couple of years. So appreciate that.
Compensation, yes. Okay. Most definitely. Making sure we stay on top, because with the union, they set the rates.
Okay, gotcha. Understandable.
Well, working in healthcare, I would have to say it's the definitely the skills gap, as well as just finding workers. Especially with nursing, because competing with traveling nursing is very challenging for us.
Mostly based on compensation. Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
I think the biggest is hard. There's lots of competing challenges. Upskilling the workforce is really critical right now, especially with in many of my divisions, there's an infusion of AI that comes into play, and how to make sure that you're using AI properly, you're trained to use AI, we're using the right tools, and at the same time there is a bit of a fear factor from our employees around that infusion of AI. The second upskilling is really leadership development, and not the what, the how.
Okay.
How to be a really present, strong, authentic leader with genuine qualities that will carry the how from performance management to conversations into action.
Okay. If you could add one person to your team to enable your department or enable your business, a set of skills that maybe you guys just could really use as your business evolves, what would that be?
I would add a broker.
For really any of our services or like benefits that we have. So right now we run our benefits department completely. So I'm negotiating with everybody. And so yeah, I would enjoy a broker or at least division of our departments because we are a smaller company. So it doesn't make sense to have a ton of like division in our groups, but it also would be nice.
Awesome.
I would say having an HR representative, someone who's knowledgeable in HR, whether that's in talent management, whether it's having an attorney that has an employment law background. Diversity, inclusion, and belonging is so important as well. So I think as long as you have a dedicated professional that's not necessarily in your business today, but someone that can come in and add that value with your recruitment, with answering employee situations, or the legal aspect. I think any one of those roles is critical to success of any business today.
Compensation, an analyst, or someone with that real deep knowledge of compensation and how to navigate the world today. Yeah.
I wish we had an HR strategy and project management office in my company. I think that the work tends to be kind of diffused out to the functions, and it would have a lot of value to have a little bit more cohesiveness. I've heard a lot of companies have started to build those, and I think at a certain size you can, but for small to mid-size, I think it's tough to get the strategic project work done while you're also managing the day-to-day.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of our members really do struggle with, and I think that's one of the nice things about MRA is that we can take either the strategic things, organizational strategic planning off your. We've got people for that. We've also got the really tactical side of things, like a recruiting project or a handbook compliance project or whatever it might be. So
I think organizational strategy is top of mind, but selfishly, what I want is internal communications, because we have a very difficult time, especially because we are global, getting communications out to people and letting them know what they have available to them. What are some of their benefits and things like that they can utilize, whether it's, benefits like healthcare or it's learning and development. So
great call out. Yeah, I think there's a lot of departments that have opportunity in that direction too.
I think our focus right now is really on developing leaders, and I think MRA does a great job of providing content to help us develop those individuals looking to seek leadership skills or increasing diversity within their workforce. I think really having MRA as a support for us has been great, and I think looking how we can really embrace that more internally to develop leaders of the future rather than trying to look at the competitive market outside. So I think that would be my dream, is really ensuring that we have learning and development alongside partners within our market.
And that's an engagement strategy too, right? Like you identify those leaders hopefully early in their career, and then you give them the opportunity to grow and paint them a career path, right?
Employee happiness and satisfaction, really keeping our employees satisfied at work and believing in our mission. Our mission is educating children to succeed. And so how do we get our employees to truly believe in that and be there and be happy to be there and thankful for the change we make in these kids' lives? So
that's an amazing answer, an amazing mission. We're a nonprofit as well, so I think not quite as easy of a conversation. We're trying to support business communities, but yeah, it's about the kids, right? Let's try and keep that in mind when we're coming into the office.
Be great employees someday, right?
Exactly. I love it. I
would have to say social media.
Okay.
Because in HR, we don't necessarily do a lot of the social media.
Yeah.
But we would like to meet our employees and potential employees where they are.
Okay.
And whether they're on TikTok and Instagram and all those things.
So maybe it's almost like an internal comms with a social media inflection or something like that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Internal comms I've heard quite a bit. It's like, what's the right way? What's the right solution for that? And that's a skill set too that we're not all trained with.
Exactly.
That's a wrap from SHRM24 at the MRA booth. Thanks for all of you that joined me on the Heard It at SHRM podcast. Can't wait to continue those conversations with you all after the booth. I had literally dozens of conversations with folks that just really opened my eyes to those challenges in 2024. We look forward to compiling some of those best practices, some of those challenges, and using that to enable our and enable us to serve our members better in 2024 and tailoring our services to represent and reflect those trends moving forward. So thanks again from MRA, your trusted proven HR leader.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Talent Report Plus Thrive podcast. Stay connected for more exclusive insights directly from our MRA members. Check out the show notes for valuable resources on today's topics. If you have questions or want to learn more about MRA, find my contact information in the show notes or check out www.mranet.org.